going on, y'all? It's Bryon back with another episode of Trial and Error. I'm taking a little bit of a detour this week. Last week we were talking about the 10 patterns of distraction with the media, and I was really getting into my media analysis bag. One of the things is in the past week, it's really been active on the political side of media. And we're seeing a lot of really for me as a political nerd, it's juicy stuff, but at the same time, it is kind of exhausting. My last interaction with Twitter ended up with me getting called a bajillion different slurs because I was commenting about that thread of young conservatives that basically were having a Nazi rally on Telegram. And these were heads of that specific political organization. And people were saying, well, these were children. And it was age group in there was like 24 to 31. That was one. And then two, these people don't have any power. We'll come to find out. Some of them are actually sitting in and holding offices or work as support for people that are in office and stuff. And so a lot of really weird stuff happened. And so I'm saying that to say this. I commented on, I think it had to be like one of the young GOP's threads or whatnot, and I ended up getting hit with 1,000 slurs. Like, it was absolutely insane. And this was over on X, of course, which is, Elon's little platform or whatnot. I got hit with so many slurs, and typically this stuff doesn't really bother me. I'm so used to online culture as it exists, and I play games online, and so I am really, and it's kind of a sad commentary about where we are as a Black person. I am really used to walking in to a room and walking into an online chat room or whatever and getting called 1,000 slurs. Like, it just happens. It's just part of what things are. And so I'm really used to that. Yeah, but I don't like necessarily the person I become when I interact with that kind of negativity, because I will engage and all that other stuff. And more times than not, it's just for my own edification, my own entertainment or whatnot. But I realized last week I need to take a step back a little bit. I'm not going to run away from politics. I'm not going to run away from political topics. I'm never that guy. But like I said, it's a weird thing where you're so used to, as a Black person online, going into online spaces and getting called a bunch of slurs. It doesn't even really faze me anymore. But it was like I stumbled onto this wasp's nest of like actual like neo-Nazis. It was really bizarre. Just for an offhanded comment. And so yeah, and they hit me with all kinds of slurs, like stuff I've never heard of before, or stuff I haven't heard in years, which is really kind of an interesting thing. But I wanted to kind of step away a little bit from the politics end of it. And so because Fearless and I have a little bit more to discuss with the red flag patterns of distraction, but I wanted to kind of give it a little bit of a break this week, just because I was in the paint fighting neo-Nazis. Literally.
Okay. Well, okay, man. It sounds like you done started off an amazing conversation, kind sir. Go ahead and enlighten me.
So basically,
with what happened.
So basically, what I'm saying is, I want to finish that conversation we were having about do some media analysis, talk about distraction and stuff like that. But as a political conversation, I kind of want to pump the brakes a little bit, because last week, I don't know if you heard or you saw the Political article where they caught a bunch of like the chair of the Young Republicans in Kansas or whatnot in that thread where they're talking about like putting people in gas ovens and joking about Nazi stuff and a lot of hard R's and stuff like that. Like, these are like heads of the Young Republicans, right? And initially, the way they tried to spin it was like, oh, these were just kids. Well, come to find out, these are like 24 to 31-year-olds, right? That's one. And then two, they're like, well, these are low-level people. Come to find out, some of them have offices up in different administrations, statewide and nationwide. And so I happened to comment on the political thread. Basically, like, people were, said, this seems like it people are more remiss that it got leaked than actually it existing. And I said that. And instantly, I stumbled into a wasp's nest of neo-Nazis. Now, the real question is, why are all these neo-Nazis in the thread on the Young Republicans page? Like, how did they get in there? That's one. But two, I was talking about, I got hit with really interesting slurs. Some of them I've heard, some of them I haven't heard. And it was just kind of an interesting thing. Like, I mean, they were, I can't really say some of the stuff that I was getting called on there, but you know, they're really having a great time. And I was kind of commenting on, if you're a black person online, you play online games, historically, you're just kind of used to walking into, like, if you play Call of Duty a lot, if you've been in a COD lobby in the last 10 years, you're going to get hit with a bunch of slurs. It's going to be a lot of really, really racist stuff in there. And so it doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I just wanted to kind of take a break a little bit from the more political end of stuff. Because I get in there and my sarcastic mouth starts going, and I start going back and forth with these people, and it's like they're just looking for engagement. So,
hey, it kind of reminds me of this. There was this. I don't think it was a riddle. It was more like one of Aesop's fables, and it goes something like this. And I'm kind of paraphrasing that a donkey was talking to a lion, and the donkey says, "Man, the sky is brown." And the lion looks up, and is like, "It's pretty sure it's blue." Right? And they're arguing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then they both go and talk to the king, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the king is asking the donkey, what's going on? And he said, "Well, I'm trying to tell the lion that the sky is brown." And then the lion is saying, "Well, I'm trying to tell him that the sky is blue." To who wins this argument? And the king looks at both of them and tells the donkey, "You win." And then the donkey is happy. He walks away, and the lion is like, "Am I noticing? Am I missing something?" And the king is like, "You lose because you're spending all your time talking about something that you know to be false. Why would you waste your time talking to somebody who doesn't listen to you?
Right.
Who sees the same thing that you see, and maybe they just see it differently. But you're arguing with somebody where it makes no sense. So you lose." Cool, not a problem. And I heard that when I was like 15. I'm 46, so 30 years ago. I try I fall into that trap too, my guy. But I try my best to remember that there's some arguments on me, there's some discussions that I'm just not gonna have with certain people. Period.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It happens that way, unfortunately.
Well, and for me, it happened. I mean, it spiked my engagement numbers. Yeah, it spiked my engagement on the platform. Like, it spiked my engagement numbers, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But at the same time, like, I don't want to sit here and trade insults with the Nazi. And that's kind of what it turned into. And so, for me, I just like, you know what, I'm gonna take a step back from the political side of things for at least a week. I'm probably gonna withdraw my entire my entire presence from Twitter, and I know it's called X. It's I know it's called X. Mama named on Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter. I'm taking a step back a little bit from Twitter and probably looking at other platforms because it really is a cesspool. And I, as a marketer, I even steer my clients away from using X or Twitter as a marketing tool, just because the vibe on it is off. But it's worse now. Like, it's worse than it's been in years. The little bit of moderation that they had no longer exists. And they've actually let a lot of those neo-Nazi accounts back on, like active people that have organizations and stuff like that, white nationalist groups and all that. They let them back on the platform. And so the quality of discourse is gone. People can literally just create bots that just say the most racist stuff, and they get engagement, and then they get paid off of it. And so I started Twitter. The reason why I started a Twitter account was to share my writing, and it worked for its purpose. But even now, I don't want to share anything. I don't want to share any creative stuff that I'm doing on there. And so I'm probably going to be moving over to like Threads to promote my writing and stuff. I opened up my Substack, which is something I'll get into a little bit later on. And I just realized the platform ain't really what What I lost my purpose of what I'm on the platform for, and arguing with Nazis ain't one of them, or even interacting with them. Because here's the thing, Curly. Here's the thing: they will find you on that platform. All you gotta do is type in specific words, and instantly they are in your feed. It's crazy. So it's not even stumbling. It's not even as much discovery. It's them actually coming to you. You know, and I've had it. In 2016, like they had, they had found, they inboxed me pictures of my house, with my car in the driveway and stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like dealing with this stuff again. I don't feel like interacting with them. And so that's kind of where I'm at. But like I said, it was just kind of an interesting little side quest, side adventure. And so I'm back off of it. And so I'm probably going to be on a different platform anyway. But I just wanted to kind of get away from some of the political shenanigans. I know that, that's typically where people interact with us, is talking politics or black stuff. People want to hop in and opine on it.
So we shouldn't talk about white burgers and black cash, how fast food excluded and extorted the black community.
We can talk about that.
We don't want to talk about this.
We can talk about that.
We don't want to talk about this. And actually, do you remember that movie, The Founder by Ray Kroc? It was about McDonald's. And there was this insert in this book where it was talking about so we're not gonna sit here and talk about how when McDonald's started off in general, there was nobody, like everybody in there was white. And that's not a diss or nothing. It was just that's where McDonald's was at that particular time. And it's really crazy how even fast food morphed into this thing where it's in a lot of communities, but during a certain time it wasn't in black communities at all.
Oh, it's like public housing.
It wasn't at all. But now when you look at it, it's like, well, you can't raise your kids off of this, and this. But it's kind of like, but y'all wasn't saying that when it was over there. But now you're saying it because it's over here, and then you hike up groceries, but then you lower your prices for horrible foods that we're knowing that causes all these type of diseases and obesity and this that, and the other. And it's kind of like, good God. But anyway, so I sat and read this book. Took me a good day to read it, and it's a nice. If you hit somebody in the face with this, I promise you're gonna knock them out. Like seriously, that's how heavy and dense this book is. But I gave it a 3.8.
Okay.
Because it's more like an educational book. Anything at like a 4, anything at a 4 and above, I would tell a person to go read it. Anything at a 3 and before, if you like sociology, if you like psychology, if you like stuff like that, I would suggest it. But if you really are not into that, I wouldn't suggest a person reading this. It had a lot of really cool information that I didn't know. There were some words that I had never even heard before that I had to write down, and but it was a pretty good book though for the most part. So white burgers, black cash, fast food from black exclusion to exploitation.
Yep.
And so it was man. And what's so crazy is that there was a lot of these companies that were doing that type of stuff, whatever. But who messed with us from the beginning? Burger King.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't called Burger King. It was actually called Instaburger at first. And it was like Instaburger King eventually. And then they settled on just Burger King. And so KFC's original herbs and spices, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know the homeboy took that from a black dude, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I like, and he talked about it himself, not necessarily saying, "Hey, I stole some guys' stuff," but the people, what he used to call us darkies, taught him how to actually put all these different things together and this that, and the other, and that's how he would come out with his stuff or whatever. But the one thing that I did not know is that in 1964, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, was sold. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
KFC was actually sold. Do you know who it was sold to?
Ooh.
Pillsbury.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It was sold to Pillsbury. Matter of fact, check this out. This is one of the and the reason why we know about Colonel Sanders still to this day is because Colonel Sanders stayed on as a mascot for the company. But the problem was is that as time was progressing on, Colonel Sanders himself was kind of a racist dude. And he was like kind of hot headed and this and the other. So they had to kind of scale back on that,
Hmm.
especially if you're wanting to um, go into the black communities and this and the other, because white people were starting to see. Oh my God, let me see if I can find it. What were they saying? Hold on, what was this at? Hold on. They were saying that a lot of the food was like, what did they say? They said it was like porn. It was like edible porn. That's how they looked at it. I was dying laughing when I was reading this.
Hmm.
But that's how they started seeing fast food. Was that like they knew that it was bad for you in general, and then they were like, man, it doesn't taste good, this, that, and the other, or whatever. But yeah, this bro, this book was actually really good. And then I was reading about how in 1967, was it 67? No, I think it was 1964 or 67. No, 67 to 87.
Hmm.
You have all these jobs that just left, all these factory jobs left, right? And you know what took their places? Fast food restaurants. So when people can't find jobs, it's like, oh, well, why don't you go work at McDonald's or go work at Burgers, go flip some burgers or whatever. That's where burger flipping
Right.
came from, right? Which is ironic because at this time, during the 1967 to 87, what else? What else did you have going to certain communities? You took all the jobs out and shipped them somewhere else, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, it's because of our labor and this and the other. I mean, really, okay. So you take that out. So what do you replace it with? You replace it with fast food. You replace it with food stamps. You take the fathers out of the homes or whatever, and you put in drugs. You put in stuff that will literally decimate a community or whatever. So if you look at about the time, it doesn't. It's not like it was like, oh, this is just an accidental type of thing. This was done on purpose.
Well, then you also throw in anti-vagrancy laws to make it illegal for black women to essentially stay home, be stay-home parents. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. Like,
And they didn't touch on that part, but they
yeah,
did touch on the fact that like dads would have to leave. Well, actually, they didn't even talk about this in this particular book. They were just talking about, and I was just kind of putting those things
hmm,
together in my head because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I like to read. So again, the reason why I don't argue with a lot of this type of stuff or whatever, like honestly, like, and I'll give you one more example, and then we can move on. There was a gentleman. They were two guys, and they were arguing, about and I think we talked about this before. Um, but they were arguing about whether our current president is a convicted felon.
hmm,
And the guy was like, no, he's not. They lied about that. It's like, well, no, actually, that's true
right.
or whatever. And here's the thing: I've heard so many different things, but I didn't know, so I looked it up.
Hmm.
And come to find out, actually, yes, he actually was. In May 2024, by a Manhattan jury, found Donald J. Trump guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records.
Hmm.
The case involved payments made to Stormy Daniels and attempt to disguise them as his personal company, as his company books. So yes, he is actually a convicted felon. Like that. That is what that is. And again, I'm not arguing that's what the thing says. Now, here's the thing. He had no jail time, no fines, no nothing, which is really crazy because that the likelihood of a person being, and I think that what they wanted to do or tried to do was give him a felony
Hmm.
so that he couldn't be president. But the problem with that is that in the Constitution, it doesn't state that you have to be a sound, nice, character, charitable, moralistic, ethical person to be
Yeah.
president. In order to be president in the United States, you have to have three things. Those three things are: you have to be a natural born citizen,
Hmm.
which means you have to be from here. You have to be at least 35 years old, which I think he was like double that. And you had to have actually been a resident of the United States for 14 years. So that means that you could be from here, go to Japan and live there for 15 years, but the next 15 years, 14 years, you've
Hmm.
had to been here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's it. So it doesn't say anything. It doesn't mention that whether you were no felonies, moral and good character standing or nothing like that. Anybody can be president, which I find that ironic that again with trial and error. You cannot be president of a business if you are a felon. Like Martha Stewart had to step down because she was a felon. She couldn't be president of her own company. Well, I think I may be speaking out of sorry, but
It's
she
probably
couldn't
board bylaws and stuff. They probably
but
have
yeah.
internal board
So
bylaws and stuff
right.
like that.
But yet instead instead we are president but you can be a felon and be president of the United States. You cannot have a gun if you are a felon. Right? You can't even
Hmm.
vote if you are a felon. But yet we have a felon that is the head of our military.
And so
You find that you see
yeah.
how ironic that is? That's crazy. And again, for those of y'all who might be talking shit like, man, I love Trump. Cool. I'm not telling you that you can't. I'm just having you open up your mind to what we call criminal
Mhm.
in this country or whatever. So therefore, people who have felonies should get their stuff back because we're showing and proving that if you can have a felony and still be president, then why 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 do we stigma? Why is it why is there a stigma with felons? Our president's one.
Well, it's there's it depending on who you're talking, what socioeconomic strata we're talking about. Country kind of has this weird fetish for indefinite punishment. Like you get punished forever. You make a mistake, you get punished
Right,
indefinitely.
just like in the Bible.
Yeah.
They're like, you're gonna burn in hell forever.
Well, and it
Like,
ends up
really?
become
Forever?
it ends up becoming this religious sacrament and stuff like that.
Right.
But it only applies to certain people. And we can get into that. There's a couple of points I wanted to hit. One of the things that the current administration is showing, and then we have something else. But um, they're kind of testing the fact that a lot of these, like when it comes to Supreme Court justices and presidents and stuff like that, it feels like they left the laws intentionally vague about what is moral turpitude and all this other stuff that can actually get people removed from office. They left that intentionally vague because they had this belief that the social construct was going to hold and they would never have to resort to this. But right now, we currently have a president, like you said, with felonies and stuff. I don't care. But then we also have a Supreme Court person who's literally openly in his public knowledge that he's taken $20 million from a specific business, a specific billionaire. I think it's Harlan something or other.
Mm.
The man has it's Clarence Thomas. I mean, Clarence Thomas is on the hook for this guy for $20 million. The guy's put Clarence Thomas's nephew through private school and has basically been funneling money to this man for the last over a decade. And nothing, like there's nothing that anybody can do. Um, you know, and they're like, oh, the black justice or whatnot. The guy that's funneling all the money to Clarence Thomas is a very, 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 very he loves Nazis. He loves Nazi stuff. His house is filled with a lot of Nazi memorabilia and regalia and stuff like that. And so for what I'm saying is Clarence, it doesn't seem like he really cares about who he's taking money from. He'll take money from anybody. But what I'm saying is this: there is no mechanism to remove a Supreme Court justice if they're openly caught taking bribes. Now, if you are a lower court judge, there's mechanisms for that.
I mean, but even then,
yeah, it's hard. Like I remember there was a local judge in our in the separate, because in the state of Nebraska, the family court is kind of a separate division, right? It's its own independent division. Judges kind of have their own oversight and stuff like that. I used to say it was one of the most powerful cabinets of judges because nobody pays any attention to them. They kind of do whatever they want to. And keeping in that theme, one of the judges, I'll say she, I can say she got caught up because she tried to lock up parents for what was it, contempt of court. She tried to have them detained and arrested, and there was a real legal gray area, like if she had the ability to even do that, but she went in and did it anyway. And it was because the kid was supposed to be in court, he wasn't in court, the parents were there, and the mom basically said, listen, that boy is bigger than both of us, he's abusive, we can't drag him out of the house and force him to come here. And the judge was mad, irate, because the kid wasn't there. And so they locked the parents up. Well, they locked the wrong parents up because these parents were rich and had money and lawyers. And so they went absolutely nuts to the point where eventually there was a lot of real legalese that was going on. Eventually she retired from her seat. And so I'm saying all that to say this: there's mechanisms depending on what level you are. But once you get up to that higher level, there's no mechanisms. You can be whatever, like there's no clear, and it feels like it was intentionally left vague so that the people in power can maintain their power regardless of whom nor what. And
kind of like make up your own rules as you go.
And it's a weird thing where you have rich and powerful people believing in the moral character of other rich and powerful people unilaterally. And we know that that's not always the case. We know that everybody is susceptible to being corrupted or, not being there for the right purposes. But it feels like there's special allowances and our special deference in our society given to people once they reach a certain political status or economic status, that everything they say is golden and they're always going to tell the truth and they're always righteous and stuff like that. And so it's just really interesting, the fact that we have there's a lack of framework to removing two of the most powerful seats in our country, where you would think that there would be hard guardrails against it, where if you do this, you will be removed from office. You would think that there would be hard guardrails, and there's really not. That's one. Two, jumping back to what you were talking about with the fast food thing. It's weird. I happen to be watching this barbecue channel, and dude was talking about the history of Memphis barbecue and how Memphis kind of became the central hub of a unique style of barbecue in and of itself. And I think it's the owner of the Rendezvous. He started it. He's kind of credited as the founder of the dry rub style of barbecue.
Okay.
But he even came out and said, well, this was built upon the work of Black people. My work was built on, he's like, I have Black pit masters. They're the ones, only thing I did was put the seasoning together. They're the ones that actually prepare it. And they're the ones that have perfected the techniques to actually prepare it, because a lot of Memphis Black barbecue guys, as the scene was kind of expanding, they were actually out, utilizing concrete pits and stuff that they had built outside to sell barbecue. And so he just brought that under roof. And a lot of black, since the people that were doing it were mostly black because they couldn't afford the overhead of having the building. And so they would just build this concrete pit and be doing it outside and have lines and lines around the corner. And
Oh,
so he took a lot of those, he took those, some of those black pit masters and put them in the kitchen. And that's how they built the Rendezvous out. And the Rendezvous is the one that people know the most about in Memphis. But there's multiple styles of Memphis barbecue. The dry rub is just the one that we associate with it. But it was just,
that's my favorite kind. I love dry rub.
But it was just kind of an interesting take on it, where the guy basically said this was built on this labor of black people. Like the Memphis barbecue scene was built on the labor of black people, and they didn't always get the benefit of their labor because they built the labor, but then it took capital and the investment, the resources that white people already had to actually mainstream it. And so interesting conversation about how we view food in this country and how we view stuff. That's kind of where we're at, man. Like I said, I wanted to kind of branch away from the hardline political stuff just because I don't feel like I said, you only can get called so many slurs, and you're like, like I said, it didn't necessarily bother me. It was kind of a funny thing. That's why I was going back and forth with it. But I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yes, it's getting yes, you're getting your engagement numbers up, and yes, people are sharing your insult, and yes, people are finding it hilarious, which is slightly validating. But it's like you're arguing with a neo-Nazi who camps out on the Kansas Young Republicans website. What are we doing here? You're giving it you of course it helped my profile get a lot of views and follows, which was great, but still. All right, so
I'm good.
I wanted to discuss kind of what we got going on, and so I wanted to frame it around us building out our brands because and you actually bringing up the book is a perfect segue to talk about what you're doing with your book reviews and stuff like that. And talk about some of the things I got cooking. I actually made my first post on Substack, and I like the platform. I actually really do enjoy Substack. It's a dope platform.
Okay, so what is that?
So Substack started out as like a newsletter platform where you write newsletters. People can get free, you could have paid subscriptions to your newsletter. You can have free subscriptions, but basically it's a way to have a mailing list, right? And so it started out as that, but then they started adding other pieces of media to it. So now you could put videos on there, do written stuff. Like you really have your choose of how you want to present your stuff. And it from a discoverability and a growth standpoint, it's kind of what I've been looking for to get back into the combination of writing and video work that I want to do. And so I made my first post on Substack, and I actually have it queued up. I got like 20 more queued up already to go. And I'm gonna be charging for the subscriptions for that. So it's gonna be like $8 per month for subscriptions. But in order to validate that or justify that, is loading it up with content. But the thing I didn't do, and this is something that I'm not going to not make it a paid thing. Like I'm not going to wait until a specific time where I make it paid. I've done that, and then it's never the right time to activate the paying portion of it. I'm putting the work in to write this stuff. I'm putting in the work in to shoot this stuff. You'll get some snippets of it. You'll get some full articles, but if you want to see the full thing, you got to subscribe. So that's kind of what I'm doing with that. It was kind of what I wanted to do with Patreon. But I think I'm probably going to use the Patreon for something else.
Okay.
But yeah, and so I want to, it's a way to get paid for my writing is what it is. And so I'm focusing on growing the Substack, specifically for the blurting while dad stuff. I opened up another, basically I decided to narrowly focus a community about what me and you have been talking about in terms of teaching people how to record themselves and start live
Mm.
streaming and stuff. And so I've built my school community for that specifically narrowly. And so I put content in there for that one, and invites are going to be going out. The videos are more aligned with that. And so that's kind of what I'm working on. It's really figuring out the two things I want to talk about and doing it. And so, um, you know, so basically this episode is talk about the concept of personal branding, but then also to really get a chance to explore who we are and talk about what we got going out here and where you can find us and other stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I'm digging that.
So, and I figured it was a good break. We can go back and finish out the other conversation next week, but I figured it was a good break to pump the brakes a little
I
bit.
said to pump the brakes.
Yeah.
So where did you go to when you got bombarded?
I was on Twitter, and I don't even want to put my Twitter handle out there, bro. Like, I'm not interested in doing that. But I was on X. I was on. Actually, it was. What was it? It might have been the Young Conservatives. They were replying to it saying, "We disavow in the strongest terms all this Nazi stuff that was discovered in this thing." And I'm like, "Do you really, or are you just disavowing it because I mean, it got outed and it got leaked? Would you have disavowed it if it never got leaked?"
No.
And that was my question. And instantly the little Nazi's like, and slur, 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 slur. I'm like, what? Okay.
I mean, right, but did they answer the question?
No, of course not.
So instead of answering the question, it has bombarded you with a bunch of bullshit.
Well, and the reason why, okay, so I started getting the bullshit because that's exactly what I was doing. I said that one thing, because they're talking about some other little weird dude who's running for us. I think he's running for a district attorney somewhere, or attorney general in Virginia. Some Democrat dude, little weird dude, was making threats about his opponent and wanting to shoot his opponent, stuff like that. It was really weirdo stuff. I ain't even heard of that dude until like a couple of hours before I posted that. And so the person was like, "What about you? What about the Dems disavowing this person?" I'm like, okay, I don't know. And they're like, "Well, what about you disavowing?" I'm like, "I don't know that dude. I don't know who he is. I didn't even know he existed until this morning. I'm gonna disavow the dude running for a seat in a state that I am not in, that I've never heard of."
Yeah.
And basically what I was saying was, I need y'all to stay on topic, because there's threads about that guy. Go talk about that in those threads. This thread is about them, what they did with the Nazi stuff. And that's where it's pissed them off. And it's like, that's where the slur started coming. When I'm like, no, I'm not going to talk about what you want to talk about. I want to talk about this specific thing. Stop trying to deflect and make straw men. Let's have this conversation here. And that's when that's when the slur came up. I knew it was a slur because I knew it started out with slurs, because on Twitter, sometimes they'll say sensitive content. And so I saw immediately the next post that he was replying to me, it had sensitive content in. I'm like, oh, he started calling me slurs. So, and then all of the other ones kind of just jumped in there. And then I just had a bunch of sensitive content all the way down. Really interesting people.
Yeah.
That's big loser energy. So,
right.
It's really big loser energy just to sit out there and say, what person can I call a slur? And then test out the weird ones. And I knew that I was probably dealing with some Fuentes guys, the Grapers, because they're the ones that use those weird slurs. And I even chastised him, like, why don't you give me a real slur, man? What is this stuff you're doing, man? Why don't you? And then he hit me with the real one. And I'm like, yeah, man. All right, let's go. So I did antagonize him a little bit on that end of it, because it was like, all right, so you already started calling me names. Let's see what you got. But like I said, I don't necessarily, I end up becoming callous, and I don't necessarily like the smart ass that I turn into when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, does that make sense, Fearless? Like, it brings out a part of me where I'm like, all right, so since we playing in the mud, let's get dirty. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it was on X. It was on Elon's Nazi platform. Anyway,
the one thing that I've always said about him is, you know what, bro, just make the car and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Just I mean, I don't, I don't know if anybody makes a better car, at least that we have access to here in the U.S. Now in China, I have heard rumors from credible people that China they have EVs
They're
yeah,
superior, way
that
superior.
are superior in ways that I they were just one of those cars and they're cheap, not cheaply made, just cheap in general, 30, 20,
Affordable.
$30,000 for one of their cars. And if you had one of those cars, um, yeah, they would put every car here to shame, all
Well,
of them. And I mean, you're talking about cars that can go 400 miles on one charge. My Tesla, I have to consistently keep charging it up
mhm.
if I want to go out of town type stuff or whatever. And I think that it goes from like zero to like back to 100 in like 15 minutes, something like that or whatever. So again, like come on, like let again, I love my Tesla, don't get it twisted. But again, it's not, I know that it's not the end all be all. So bro, shut the fuck up and just build the car.
Well, and
So I ask.
I remember when Ford dropped, what was it, the F-150 Lightning, and the chart, like the excitement about it was it was a well-made truck, and it was going to be $30,000,
Mm,
and they dropped it, and immediately the dealers, the independent dealers and stuff, jacked the price up because it was so popular, and like now it's $50,000 to get it, which was supposed to be their entry level EV for their flagship truck. And it's weird how this country does that, bro. Like, you have something that's affordable and popular, and instead of saying this thing is affordable and popular, let's just try to keep it at the same level of affordability so it can be popular. It's let's extract as much as we possibly can from this thing. That's why
mhm.
people don't understand how the Arizona tea guy operates. And he's like, I was like, I could raise the price on this stuff. And I'm not going to say never because the price of aluminum is going through the roof. But for as long as I'm in charge of this, we're going to do everything to maintain the price point of, was it 99 cents?
Oh wow, yeah.
He's like, I'm going to do everything I can to maintain. He's like, because I don't need the extra. I like, we got enough money. Like my family has more than enough. Why do I need to raise the price?
Yeah.
If I can sell it for 99 cents, I'll just sell it for 99 cents. Now, if the price of aluminum goes up, I may have to pass it on, but it's always going to be hover around that same price point.
Mm.
Really interesting way to think about money and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a weird thing where if something is popular and it's affordable, instantly that affordable thing, that the thing that's affordable, and I know it's supply and demand, but sometimes the demand is artificial. Like sometimes the supply is artificial. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? The supply constraints are artificial. And people will limit the supply constraints just because they can raise the price on you.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's what I'm. So let's talk about this because I want to ask and get your thoughts on this. So you're building your brand because that's essentially what you're doing, Fearless. You and I are both building our brand, right?
I'm reading
Yeah.
for the most part, but yeah, I guess so. Yes.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you when you are like, okay, I've read this book and I'm going to share it. I'm going to share what my thoughts are. That's your brand.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Your brand is you are a bibliophile. You're you absolutely 100% invested in the passion of reading and the importance of it, and you share it with the world. That's kind of your brand.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Okay.
so
Yeah, that's fine. I could do that.
and so
I can ride with that. Yes.
so how do you maintain your authenticity when you're posting online where you don't end up becoming a character?
Um. I don't know, man. I think I'm kind of already a character in general or whatever. So and I'm weird as fuck in general. So again, I think that it's more of like that philosopher in me that's
Mhm.
always asking. Because I was just talking to I'm a good friend of mine last night about about just talking to people in general, because I can just talk to anybody. Like
Mhm.
I'll pull up on you and start talking. And but my friend who's going to school to be a therapist, she's like, dude, I wouldn't do that. But she's like, it's not like I can't do it, which I've never seen her do.
Mhm.
So I won't do that unless I'm getting paid or that's something to do with work or something like that or whatever. But for me, I'm curious. I'm naturally curious about stuff, and I'll ask questions, and because I'm just curious, I want to know,
Mhm.
and I don't want to think about certain stuff or whatever. And so I go look it up, or if I can't look it up, I'll ask the person or whatever. Right? I was just talking to a lady at the uh, grocery store today. Every time I talk to her, every time I see her, I ask her something new. Hey, are you still liking your job? This and the other. And then the more you talk to people, the more that they talk to you. So
Mhm.
the last time I talked to her, I asked her, I said, are you married? And she said, no, I'm going through divorce. I'm like, oh, okay. And then we left. So this morning when I saw her, I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that if you were offended or anything like that, I'm really sorry. I'm curious about people in general.
Mhm.
I don't mean any harm. I don't want to think about it later. So I would just ask or whatever. And sometimes like my curiosity gets the best of me and I'll ask questions before thinking about who I'm talking to, and this and the other. She's like, no, I'm pretty bold. So if I felt like you were crossing the line, I would tell you. I'm like, all right, perfect. Thank you for that. And then I, went about my business. But um I think being a philosopher and deciding to go back to school for therapy, I think that is my brand, I guess, if you will,
Mhm.
to stay curious, man. Like, I just read this, book here, and now I'm gonna read this book here, which is really gross. It's called Son of the Slob, and this is about. It's really gross. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Okay.
But as soon as I'm done with this, um, I'll probably read this book here, which is called "Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are?" I'm gonna say that again. Are we smart enough to know how smart animals are? So, and again, I mean, it's just something that I would just like to know, like how if I heard this term once or this thing anyway,
Mhm.
and it was if we view success from that of a monkey. So if a monkey says, yeah, the only way you can succeed is you have to climb this tree. But if the monkey's talking to a fish, the fish is not built for that.
Mhm.
So success to the fish is not going to be success for the monkey. Success for the and what happens if there's something that can climb that tree? That's from a totally different species. Then what? Would you still
Mhm.
consider that success?
Right.
Right. So if we say that, well, life is the objective of life or the succession of life is to have more money than everybody else. Okay, cool. So then Mansa Musa, which was a black dude, had more money than all of y'all. So then technically, he is the richest person. Period. Right. Um, and people who own a whole entire country, who own the country, like the Saudis, it's Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
Saudi is the last name of it's a group. It's a family.
House is solid.
Like yeah, like dude, like it's a whole family who owns a country. That's like somebody owning America, which we do have people who own America.
Mhm.
Um, but you know who their owners are. And again, you're talking about people that are billionaires. These people are multi-trillionaires. Trillion. I want like trillion. Like these people have enough money to pay America's whole entire debt,
Mhm.
which ironically enough, if you paid off our debt, this country would implode. It runs off of debt. It can't otherwise. And again, that's something that we created. But I am I'm extremely curious, bro.
Well, and
That's
that
literally what that is. I can't if I don't know something, I gotta go look it up or I gotta go read about it.
well, and that's what I'm saying. So your brand is intellectual curiosity, and then utilizing books as your avenue to sate your intellectual curiosity, and then sharing it with the world. And
Hmm.
so when I remember we talked a couple weeks ago where I was like, the bookstore, it was 2 days in the bookstore. It was your brand. Your brand is tied to learning in books and fight going seeking your answers and learning about yourself and seeing yourself in your journey reflected in the stories and books that you read and kind of sharing it with the world and you having that inform your perspective as a philosopher and as a coach.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say. That's how, from the outsider's perspective, that's how I would establish your brand. And then, okay, so what levers do we pull to build around that brand? You know, you do have, your stand store, which it seems to be popping off, and people are reaching out and contacting to you.
Hmm.
So how do we tie more links to it to integrate and build an ecosystem around it?
You know what, man, which is kind of crazy. Uh and this may seem kind of funny. To me it does a little bit. But I'm actually kind of I'm not really, I guess, really promoting it all that much.
Mhm.
Like I kind of, and here's the thing, and it's not like my goals have shifted. Well, actually, no, they have shifted. It's just that my desire to want to push it out for everybody has shifted.
Okay.
If that makes so, what I mean by that is, I don't mind talking about books. I love philosophy in general, whatever. But I can read. I read these type of just any and everything because everything is connected to me. Everything.
Hmm.
I can connect everything to everything or whatever. And I think it's because of that, man, that I am grateful. It is because of that that I love what I do. Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I'm happy just to sit back and read my books, whether I'm talking to other people about it or not, man. This is my thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, a person's either with it or not. Either way, man, this is kind of what I stand on. So and again, I wouldn't and it's my lane. Like when I think about success looks totally different to me than it does to somebody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like for me, being able to being able to be a stay-at-home dad and still take care of my son, to be able to purchase or go get whatever I need or want just because I want to go do it is something huge for me. To be able to sit back and read a book in an entire day, like Chris KRS once said, he said success. I don't know if success was the key operative word
Hmm.
he was looking for, but he said that like success is one of those things that when you find what you love, he said it's not about what you have. He said it's what you can do without.
Hmm.
Right? How many things can you be without? And I love that because man, give me a pen, pad, and a book, and I'm cool. I'm gonna say that again. Give me a pen, pad, and a book. I'm cool. That can fit in a that can fit in a backpack. Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, give me a pen, pad, and a book, and I'm cool. Because I can always go swap these books out, you
Right.
know. But seriously, give me like again, give me a pen, pad, and a book, and I'm cool. I don't I don't really need much else.
Well, and so I think it does kind of speak, but see, here's the thing, because you're in your seat, and because you are in your seat, you're like, yeah, this is just what it is. I want to be a stay-at-home dad and have have a stay-at-home dad and be able to buy the things I want and enjoy the lifestyle I want, right? There are people out there that would kill to be in that seat.
I know.
And so, and
And
you,
that's what success is to me.
yeah, and you built your brand, like, regardless of whether you see it, like this is just my opinion now, regardless of how you see it or perceive it, you've kind of established your personal brand to uphold what your values are and what you value in your life and your existence.
Yeah, that part.
And so you've created an ecosystem where you could talk about the things that you're passionate about, talk about books and stuff like that, and always have an audience of people that are going to, I'm fixing my mic, that are always going to align with you, and also a group of people that you can potentially monetize, and where they're going to pay you to pay access for stuff that you put out there, or to be able to interact with you or get your wisdom on something. And so you've kind of informally built this brand around this. And so, I think a lot of times people overthink what this concept of brand is, or they overthink it to the point where it's performative,
Mhm.
where they're performing it. That's where you see a lot of these influencers and stuff, where, um, you know, um, like, okay, here's an example. So my little cousin has her brand that she's launching, right? And
Gotcha.
so she jumps on and talk about drinking shakes and stuff. That's kind of what she does. Like, that's really who she is. She's not drinking it because the camera's there. That's kind of who she is.
Yeah, for sure. I get
And
it.
so that's a difference between that and then this person that is artificially doing all this stuff. That's like me trying to build a brand about being an outdoorsman who loves to, work in the garden. I hate that stuff, but I'm gonna build a brand around it. No, if I try to, it'll ring inauthentic,
Right, I got you.
and it'll draw on the wrong kind of audience. So I'm still trying to figure out what this brand is for me. That's going to actually pay the bills and pay the overhead and stuff, so that I can lean into that kind of stuff. You
Right.
know,
So you see this?
yeah,
Like again, I mean, even making my little things up, whatever, man. Like this is my you know what I mean? And so no, I do see exactly what you're saying. I see exactly what you're saying. I think that if you don't mind,
yeah,
can I? So what I started to understand, and again, you kind of helped me figure that out, was again, like I said, man, those 5 things that I love about life, 5.
hmm
And if I'm not doing those 5 things, if whatever I'm doing is not connected to those 5 things, then I don't want to do it.
right,
Like off top. I mean, even if you get a job, the job that you have, it should be congruent with the type of person that you either are or the type of person that you want to become.
yeah,
Because
alignment,
because if it is not, you're gonna lose it. And you're gonna lose that job. You're either gonna get fired, tired, or you're gonna retire.
yeah,
Right? But either way, it has to be something that win, lose, or draw, man, you can do this no matter what. Now, I'm not going to tell you that there's not going to be hard times. I'm not going to tell you there's not going to be some shit that you're going to have to go through. Yeah, because there is. Right? But I would tell a person that, bro, if this is really what you want, what are we doing? Let's go do that.
yeah. It's being
Right?
in alignment. It's
That's all it is, bro. That's it.
because I encounter people all the time where it's like they see, and it's not just, it's not just jobs, but I'm using jobs and then a couple of other examples. They see getting this specific job as this quick money thing, right? But then the job they're pursuing is out of alignment with the person they want to be.
That part.
And they see it as a quick money grab or anything, but it's not really built on any inner desire or anything. It's all about the money that they're going to make doing it. And if you're in alignment with money, then that's a perspective that you have, and that's fine.
Yeah, that part.
But if that's not really what you're in alignment with, eventually that job is going to feel more like a burden than anything else. I've seen people start businesses based on that, where they go out online and they find business in a box ideas or these template businesses, where they're not really necessarily in alignment with who they are, what or the activities they want to do. And now all of a sudden they're jumping all into it, and then they're in it and they hate every bit of it. I find that with marketers all the time. They just want the money. They know that being a marketer or a copywriter can make money, but they don't understand how lonely the life of a writer can be. And they're not in it for that. They want to be in the office with other people and stuff like that. They don't necessarily want to sit at their desk and be alone with their thoughts for hours or days on end as part of their daily existence. And so I'm finding that a lot with people that do this on YouTube, where especially there's an entire ecosystem on YouTube of quick, fast, in a hurry, how to make money with no experience and all this other stuff. And
I mean,
people,
but bro, that's been going on though. I mean,
and that's what I'm saying. But there's always this rush of people that jump into these things and they're like, well, it doesn't work. Well, yeah, it does work. It's just not in alignment. You just don't want to do it. You're just not in alignment with who you want to be. Like when I was really into reselling and stuff, it was fun for a little bit. I go out, spend money, buy stuff, and then flip it online for a profit. But then I got tired of doing it.
Why did you get tired of doing it?
Because I got tired of the rigmarole of I go buy this, I compare the prices. There was a thrill of the hunt for me. But then the other part of it was now I gotta box it, I gotta weigh it out, I gotta do all the other very kind of boring stuff and then ship it out. And it was like I didn't necessarily like the grind of it. Now, there are parts of it I did like. Like if I could have just done books, I would have been cool. But there weren't enough resources at the time in Omaha to find those kind of rare books.
Okay.
And then it turned into this volume kind of game where I had to get all these other books that weren't worth anything and send them out there. And I'm like, I don't necessarily want to do that. The shoe thing was dope until Amazon changed some of the way that they gated some of their Jordan stuff.
Gotcha.
And so I didn't mind shoes and stuff like that. And even action figures. That was cool for a little bit of time until they gated the action figures. But I sit down and think about it like, my wife was having more fun than I was with it because she liked to go out and do the shopping thing. But all the other stuff that went along with it and the pain of printing out labels and all the hours I invested in doing that, I didn't necessarily want to invest all of my time doing that full time. There are people that do it and they absolutely love it. Okay. And there are people that have done it so much that they got to a point where they're able to have the grit to grit through it and level up to the point where they have other people going out and sourcing and packing and shipping stuff for them. Mm-hmm. I knew that early on, like I'm not going to get to that part of it because I have to get through the grind of this and I was still working a full-time job too. And I was like, I like writing a lot better than this. Right. And so I'm realizing that for me to be in alignment, writing or some creative element has to be involved in the brand. And so I just said, I don't necessarily want to do it. It's not necessarily in alignment, but it wasn't alignment. It was in alignment with other aspects of it, like where I can go out and tell people intelligently, this is how you list stuff on Amazon. This is how you get it to rank on Amazon. This is how you do. This is how you win the box, because there's a specific box that you got to win in order for your stuff to sell. And so I was able to parlay that into a pretty lucrative little thing for myself, helping somebody set up their Amazon store. But, so it did help me in the long run, but it wasn't something I wanted to do permanently on this indefinite basis. And I think a lot of times people get into, like the one I always think about is flipping houses. Flipping houses is great until you realize that you actually have to learn how to do drywall. You got to do drywall, you got to do construction, you got to do if you don't like all that stuff, then flipping houses ain't, it may be lucrative, but you have to be driven to do that other stuff that comes along with
it.
To buy,
because there's a bunch of there's a bunch of stuff that goes into real estate and flipping in general. Like it's not just that you have to look at the comps, you got to look at everything.
It can work. You just got to be willing to do the boring stuff, and you got to be willing to have a high tolerance for failure. Like, You have a high tolerance for failing in one aspect and then rebounding and saying, okay, I didn't execute this right. So now I need to reposition, repivot, and attack it again. And a lot of times, especially with house flipping, it only takes one or two of those to wipe you out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you may not have the resources to bounce back from it. But I've seen people jump into like where I'm gonna do I'm gonna make coloring books for grown-ups.
Okay.
Now there's apps for that, right? And somebody told them online this is a great way to make money, and then they get into it and they're like, God, I hate this. Because it's not in alignment with who they want to be. They just saw the money. So that's what I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, or like I subscribe to a few different things. I'm probably the only person in America who still subscribes to Reader's Digest for obvious reasons. I like to read. I also subscribe to um, astronomy magazines because I love astronomy. I also subscribe to philosopher magazines and psychology. Thank you. And Psychology Now, right, which only comes out every other month or whatever. So again, like, you know, what do you subscribe to, like, in general? And then not only that though, but even with like Instagram with the shorts and all that, I stopped watching that shit. I had to turn that off because here's the thing. There's so many things on there that are so triggering. I don't want to know. Like it's like it's a avalanche and a bombardment of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like most of it, like you don't really know what to believe. So there's just this machine that just keeps pumping you full of hate, pumping you full of hate, pumping you full of hate. And I'm just looking at this like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, bro, like this is what we're spending our time doing. And and while I'm looking at this, bro, the one thing that keeps popping back into my head is that we're being fucked with. We are being messed with. I'm telling you, there's something else going on that is so huge, that is so big, that it needs people to be looking away. I need you to go look over there. Not over here, go look over there. And I've been feeling this way for a long time. That there's something coming that when it comes, I want you to remember when like 9/11 happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time that there was so many people that America, I think, for the first time, and it's 220 some years, I'm guessing at that point, of life, of existence have been around, that America, for the most part, included everybody. That it was the first time that Black people felt like Americans. Because the hate wasn't on us this time. It was on something else. It was on somebody else that didn't have shit to do with us, right? All these years later, your boy Charlie gets popped.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of taking a deep dive into your own rhetoric, into your own speech, you target us. Like we have anything to do with your stuff. Like we're not messing with you. Like the issues that certain people have, this ain't got shit to do with us. This has everything to do with y'all. And this Black dude was like, let me explain to you guys what would happen. And I think about this often. If Black and brown people were to just leave, if Asian people were just going back home, Black people were to say, you know what, Africa's full of Africa's this big ass continent that has a lot of space for us to go chill. Okay. So let's just go. Like, um, we will just kind of go. We'll go do our thing. Blah 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 blah. Right. Everybody just leaves and go back to their respective places. We'll pick another place. I don't think America understands that America would sink within 30 days. It would sink. It would plummet within 30 days because we need each other in order to do what we need to get done in this country. Right? I mean, like
Right.
that's a fact. Who's gonna do all the work? Y'all barely like to do shit now. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, like I'm not gonna lie to you like that. It kind of gets to a point where it's like, you know what, dude? Why don't we just leave it, give it to them? Oh, and then I think, like, well, hold on. What if the Native Americans said, hey, we want you out of our country? Does that mean that you have to leave now too?
Of course
You
not.
see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, because if they because we're using the same logic. Technically, if the natives asked you to leave, y'all brag about where you're from. Well, I'm second generation Irish. I'm second generation this or that or whatever. Cool. So you know exactly where you come from. So you can go back there. Right? So, but if the natives said, we want you out, would you keep that same energy and leave?
No.
You know what I'm saying? So then shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Stop telling everybody else what to do. Quit that shit. Because if you're not gonna keep that same energy, because if I'm not, I know Native Americans, like real ones, and they've hated you motherfuckers since you got here. Hated you. So cool. So if we're gonna, if we're doing all that, if they ask you to go, then you should go, right? But if you're not gonna keep that same energy, shut the fuck up. So I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
stop,
Well, and
stop.
so I think one of the things is, specifically with the social media platforms and our usage of it, we're a consumer economy, right? And so our pastime is being consumers of stuff. And so when you step outside of the frame of being a consumer, it's kind of an isolating thing. That's why a lot of business owners are lonely because they're moving out of the consumption side of things and into the production side of things. You've moved out of the consumers of social media to an actual producer within social media. Your life looks a little bit different. And so I have a lower tolerance for stuff. I'd be scrolling through like this is a skit. It's clickbait. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be scrolling through and getting frustrated. Like this is a skit. This is a skit. This is AI. This is a skit. Because I understand on the back end, like I could see, okay, there's a Sora watermark, so I know this is AI. You know, or why is this camera? Where is this invisible camera? How are they not like this camera has this camera angle so that the person that's doing it is talking to this person over here, and they don't know this big camera sitting over here recording the entire thing. This is a skit, and so it starts messing with you to the point where you like, you end up having a lower tolerance for a lot of that stuff. So I get it. I do feel like um, there's a level of placation that's going along. I feel like the big thing that we're going to see, and we're veering political again, fearless. We're veering back into the political lane. I think the thing you're going to see is a consolidation of social media platforms um, in terms of politics and alignment, right?
Okay.
So right now, the Ellisons basically own TikTok. Ellisons are hard right conservatives. Ellisons are also he owns Oracle. Oracle does all the databases and stuff. Um, and here's an aside: if you want to know how levered we are into these companies and these big tech companies, understand that yesterday when Amazon Web Services went down, almost all the internet went with it.
Okay.
So that's how much control these platforms have over us. But Ellison has TikTok. He's a hardline conservative. They're already starting to see different biases. Like I'm starting to see, um, you know, talking heads that I don't want to see in my feed, that I've tried to avoid. I've actually actively tried to avoid their content so it doesn't get into my feed, and it's in my feed now. You know, stuff from Candace. You know, old Charlie. You know, all the clips from these hardline, right wingers are starting to find its way into my feed. This is how it's happening. This is not by accident. And I think they understand that in order to reach the generation of people that are on social media heavy, that they have to have ownership of it so they can kind of seed it with their messaging. Because that's why TikTok was a threat initially. You remember that, you remember that first 2020, right? Where TikTok was actually being used to a degree for people to organize online. And then that's when they started talking about banning it.
Really? I didn't know that.
Activists had used a little bit of TikTok. There wasn't a heck of a whole lot. It was more active on Instagram and stuff, where they had different different ways that they knew, okay, this is how we organize and stuff. And so they're utilizing a little bit to organize online. And then that's when we started hearing about how subversive and dangerous TikTok was. How subversive and dangerous Instagram was, when people started utilizing it to organize during the 2020 protests and stuff.
Okay.
And so I feel like there was a power grab that and it happened behind the scenes, like we talked about in the distraction thing. The grab, most people don't know the head of Oracle owns TikTok in America. They don't know that his son is basically the head of Paramount Studios, which owns CBS News.
Okay.
CBS News just put Barry Weiss in charge of as their main editor. And she has gotten progressively more right wing depending on who's funding her over the years. And so these are very strategic things that are happening. And so it's a power grab to consolidate all the media so that we can push a specific type of narrative that's in alignment with the people that have the money and the power in this country. So that's what I think, that might be that foreboding kind of thing that you're feeling, because Elon's already captured Twitter, and while he was talking all this free speech stuff, it's really not this bastion of free speech. You get suppressed for talking about pro-black stuff on Twitter all the time. While I can get hit with every slur in the book. Okay, Twitter has been slanted. The TikTok was slanted. A lot of right-leaning content gets hammered on TikTok because people don't like it. And so they said, we're being suppressed. And it's like, no, people are just swiping away. No, we're being suppressed. The algorithm suppressing us. No, people are finding argument with what you're saying and they're swiping away from it. So now they're going to force feed that stuff into people's feeds.
Okay.
That's what you're seeing. That's actually what you're seeing. And anybody that got a comment, anybody, well, that's not a comment. Anybody that says, well, the media has this bias or whatnot, I'm gonna hip you to something. Okay. There's two layers to this, because there's always a nuanced conversation that gets missed when we start talking about media. Are you telling me that these media conglomerates are lefties? They're leftists? The heads of these these multinational conglomerates, are you telling me that they're left-leaning?
Right.
That's not real. Now, some of the reporters and stuff, because one of the byproducts of having a worldview where you've actually been out and seen different aspects of the world and seeing how different people live, it does liberalize a little bit of your thinking, a bit of how you perceive things. That's just a function of, like, you've seen it where people complain about, I sent my kid to college and they got indoctrinated. They came back with blue hair and we're using pronouns and stuff, right? You've seen that.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. You know what that is? That's your kid had not really been around other people who didn't look or act like them up until they went to college. And then they went to college and got around other people and were able to kind of figure out who they were in line with. and who they actually were.
Okay.
So who was indoctrinated? Was the kid indoctrinated before he left? Was he indoctrinated by college, or was he indoctrinated after he left the house? The parent has more ability to indoctrinate the kid than any college does.
Yeah.
And so basically the kid goes off to college, him or her gets deprogrammed about all the racist stuff. And I literally experienced in college I went to UNO, man. This is back in the 90s. We would get these small town kids, because this is when they first got the dorms. We would get these people that had never been around black folks at all. Come to UNO, and as far as Nebraska is concerned, Omaha is Detroit.
Right.
Omaha's Detroit as far as the rest of Nebraska is concerned. And so they come off these farms and have these really weird, limited perspectives, and then get around other people, black and brown folks, and then they start loosening up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go back home and they're like, your parents were like, you changed. We sent you out to college. You came back this blue-haired liberals. Like, no, they just realized to be a little bit more tolerant of people that don't look like them. They learned how to coexist with people that aren't like them.
Yeah. Yeah, that homogeny.
Yes. And so
whatever,
it goes back into what I'm saying is the head of CBS, the person that owns CBS, is not liberal. I'm sorry. It's just not. A CEO, you're not. Most of the CEOs, a lot of these CEOs in that billionaire class wouldn't necessarily consider themselves liberal. It'd be more the classic kind of conservative. Well, there is no party or platform for the classic conservative anymore. So where's their alignment now? Well, they're going to be the current modern conservatives, right? These billionaires that own these media outlets aren't liberal. Sorry, it's just not. It's not how it goes. But the reporters may be. But also, there's a part of it where you're like, you have to wonder, is this reporter have a bias, or he's just telling you something that you don't want to hear?
Right.
Because it's a sign. All right, here's the thing. And I know I'm kind of dominating the conversation, right?
No, I love it. I love it. Take it.
Here's the thing. When we start talking about such and such as bias and whatnot, everybody's biased. Your brain is programmed to be biased. There's no such thing as a completely logical person. Somebody who is completely and totally governed by logic typically has some kind of brain injury that does not allow them to function.
Okay.
Your things you like, your choices are dictated by your emotions. Even as much as logic as you try to apply to it, we can rationalize anything. I can rationalize why I like my Android phone over iPhone. And I can give you very logical arguments about why I prefer one or the other. I can give you all the tech specs and all the other stuff. At the end of the day, it's because I like Android better than I like iPhones. It's not rooted in, it's not a cold logical answer. I can give you all the things that make it look like a logical answer, but emotionally, I like this because I know how to utilize it, right? You could give me all the reasons why you like this specific car brand or this specific juice and all that other stuff. At the end of the day, it's still an emotional decision. You have to have your emotions to be able to determine which way you're going to go one way or the other.
Right.
And so when somebody starts talking about, well, I'm governed by logic. No, you're not. You're governed by, you may lean into more, you may have a logic behind your emotions, but that's not the same thing as being like, what was it? Star Trek Next Generation, like Data, like the android Data. You're not the android Data. You know what I'm saying? And if you watch the show, you see that he had a lot of trouble navigating interpersonal situations because he had no emotions. He was totally rational and totally logical. Yeah. So when people start talking about this person is biased or that person is biased, everybody is biased. That is a function of being a human being. You're biased based on your perspective, your opinion, and things that you've experienced in your life. It colors your perspective on life.
That's exactly what it is.
Now, so when we talk about reporters and stuff, we talk about news people, they have their own biases too, but their biases are drawn from this reporter was actually on the front lines of this war covering it, and so that informed their perspective about something one way or the other. And so they're coming from it from that aspect of having that lived experience, and it also filters into the way that they may present it, the way they structure the stories. Investigative journalists, they are doing a lot of their own writing and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Their bias does shape how their investigation goes. Now, if they have a bias towards the truth, there's a difference between having a bias towards the truth and have a bias towards what you want to believe. We can make that argument.
Quick question: have you ever seen that movie, The Greatest Beer Run Ever?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you a picture of it. But there's a show, movie with Zac Efron called The Greatest Beer Run Ever. Here it is, right here, and it's like a war slash comedy. And um, a lot of his friends went off to war. He decided not to, but they left. I think they were drafted or something like that before. So he wanted to go drink with them because he didn't think that the war would be, that bad, whatever. So he ends up going and um he goes over to, I think it's in Vietnam or something like that. And he gets there and he has a whole thing of beer and he just wants to have a beer with his friends, not understanding the depth of what he's into.
Mm-hmm.
He's there just to go drink with his friends or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's traveling through all these places. Now, again, he's never heard of any of these places because they don't talk about the stuff on TV. So while he's there, he runs across these journalists. He runs across these reporters,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all laughing at him like, "Dude, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. Why are you here? You need to go home. This is serious." Well, he ends up meeting all of his friends in all these like obscure places and parts of the country. But while he's there, he's seeing firsthand what's actually happening. So, like towards the like middle and kind of in 3/4 of the movie, he's having drinks with the reporters, and he's about to head back home or whatever. And they're at first they dismiss him, and then they're sitting there talking to him, and they're all talking about how this the enemy is just blowing a hole
Mm-hmm.
into this wall and this, that, and the other, and that there's peace up in this particular region. And he's sitting there like, no, there's not. There's no peace there. And they're like, how do you know? It's like, because I was there. I saw it. There's no peace at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're still shooting at each other. So if there's peace up there, nobody told them. And then everybody stopped and look at him like, okay, now I can take you serious.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? And then he starts to explain that all the things that you're seeing on the news is not what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at being woke, when we look at DEI, when we look at diversity, when we look at all these things, these are coming from people who like, no, we don't have any problem with the police. We don't have any problems with systemic racism. We don't have any trouble with redlining. We don't have any trouble with gerrymandering. We don't have any trouble with voter suppression. We don't have any troubles like that because it doesn't exist. Like you just said, you're right. I mean, in your world, it does not exist.
Right.
In somebody else's world, it very much exists.
I had to hip somebody to this, and it was weird because it was during 2020. And so there's this video that was going around. It was in, I think it was in Minnesota, Milwaukee. It might have been Milwaukee or whatever. Anyway, there's this video that it was a self-shot video. And so it was these young black people confronting this white guy in a mask. And they're out protesting. And this white guy in a mask, and you saw a little bit of it. There's a little bit of it. He had the little intersecting triangle tattoos on his hands or whatnot, which is that's a symbol. Anyway, they're confronting him because he was trying to break a window of an AutoZone store, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And they put the camera on him, and they showed him breaking the window, and they're like, "Stop him! What are you doing?" What are you doing? And so I had to explain to somebody, what you're seeing is one of the oldest ways that they used to put down protests. It goes all the way back to the early 1900s. Early 1900s, there was a big worker strike. Workers were outside protesting. They sent an undercover cop in. I forgot what the name of those guys were. The Pinkertons. The Pinkertons.
Oh, the Pinkertons, yeah.
They sent one of them Pinkertons in there, and the Pinkertons would start turning up in the crowd and make it look like this thing turned violent. They're breaking stuff, they're burning things, and then that would give the police the impetus to go put the riot down violently. They put the riot down violently. Basically, it's putting the protest down by making the protest look violent. That's literally one of the oldest ways to ever do it. Talk to people who are out protesting. They could see an undercover police officer. They could mark, oh, that guy is undercover. The shoes, the boots, why are they here? You know what I'm saying? Faces half covered, and they're the ones turning up the most. They're the ones trying to incite the crowd. You didn't see that on the news.
No, they don't ever talk about that.
But also, from the news.
So who's breaking the window?
So the guy that was breaking the window was this mystery white guy who looked too old to be out there protesting, had the little intersecting triangle white supremacist tattoo on it, kind of visible on his hand, because you could see him throwing this thing. And so he was trying to, he threw, I think it was either a Molotov cocktail or something. He's trying to set the autos. He broke out the window of the autos, and I think he was trying to throw something in there to set it on fire. To say this protest now turned, so the cops could look over and say, oh, stuff is burning, the protests turned violent, let's put it down.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, what are you doing here? And he was actually trying to fight them and snatch the camera out of their hands and cussing at them and stuff. He didn't want to be seen doing this stuff. He definitely didn't want his face shown.
Did anybody take the mask off of him?
No, they ended up chasing him for a while. But the mask
was it was more than one.
The people that confronted him was more than one person that confronted this guy. But it was this guy specifically that they're marching past and they see him banging on the side of this AutoZone, and they went over to say, hey, that's not what we're about. We're not doing this. And that's where they're like, wait a minute, this guy is an op. This guy's undercover. And he's here to make it look like this protest is violent. I had to tell somebody that, and they didn't believe me. And I said, there's an entire documented history of this happening.
Yeah. On
a local level, on a federal level, because the FBI would do it, CIA would do it, or even counter protesters will do it. A counter protester who does it, who is against what the people are protesting will absolutely go in there and try to escalate it so that the police come in and put it down, because that's their fallback.
Right.
When things start burning. So you didn't see it on the news, but if you knew, you knew. But if they showed that on the news, because from the news reporters' perspective, they're going to look at footage like that. Now, no, a journalist is going to look at footage like that and it's like, the context clues all make sense. I can't put a story around this that is going to sound factual or believable. Because the context clues are all there, but the context clues are still conjecture. I can't necessarily put this out there.
Gotcha.
No editor would allow that, because the editor is going to look and say, what can you prove? Even if the editor, I'm assuming that the editor is operating in good faith and not just trying to suppress something. They're going to say, yeah, that looks like what this is. We can't necessarily make inferences based on that. Now, I know that's rare nowadays, but I could see where somebody would say, okay, we've seen this footage. We don't have enough context around this. I know what I'm looking at. I can't definitively tell the audience that that's what's happening. So we're not going to show it. We're not going to air it. Or it comes down from corporate and say, no, that's not the story we're telling. You see how nuanced these conversations are? You see how multi-layered they are? It could be one thing. It could be the other thing. You don't really know. You don't know. Nope, that's not the story we're telling today. On to the next. So,
On to the next.
anyway, we've kind of drifted into that consumer. Like
We did.
I think, but see, Fearless, what I was saying was, I think you've drifted over because you are on the producer side. Whether you want to believe it or not, you're on the producer side of social media now, bro.
Okay, and that basically means what?
You produce the content that people watch.
Hmm.
It's a mindset shift. That's why it's hard to sit there and watch too many of the things.
Yeah, I can't watch.
I watch it for like if there's something that's funny.
Yeah,
but when it's something that's
watch, but again, you got to go through enough of them to find the ones that are funny, and even then, it's kind of like, so like there's certain people that I'll listen to, but even with that, like it's just so fucking depressing.
Like if the Grooving Gorilla crosses my screen, if the Grooving Gorilla crosses my screen, I will absolutely almost throw my phone to get him off my screen. You know what I'm talking about? The black dude.
Yeah, I got that book.
The black dude, the black, no, not the invisible gorilla, the Grooving Gorilla. The black dude, he's a big Nigerian cat who goes out and eats a piece of chicken and bugs his eyes out and starts dancing and stuff.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You talking about the current day minstrel show?
Yeah. If he crosses my screen and he has all these followers, I will almost break my phone to get him off my screen. I cannot watch that stuff. Yeah. I know exactly what it is. So, okay. Fearless, I think here's the thing, man. You have a strong personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't necessarily call it that. But you have an ecosystem that you could set up, that you can lean into and says, okay, I want to turn up this dial and bring in money and clients and stuff, or turn it down and dial it back a little bit. But you get to talk about what you want to talk about. You're not beholden to any authority dictating what you can say and what you can't say. And so, and you could talk about your interests, and people tune in. And to an extension, people not only tune in, they will put money in your pocket for your perspective.
Yeah.
That's your brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't mind that. I don't mind it. I again, I think that, like you said before, like it's funny, man, because when I did the 100 days and 100 nights, like that felt like eventually work. Mm-hmm. But then when I was doing it, man, I could bang them things out. Give me 20, 30 minutes. I'll create a whole entire thing for you and just go.
Right.
For 2 hours. An hour and a half at least. And just go. And so I don't know, bro. It's just one of those things, and like now, like I'm like, or whatever. Then I keep forgetting, because first and foremost, you don't have to be on this thing doing this every single day. You read a book, shoot your little thing, make a thumbnail, put it out, whatever and stuff. So I think I'm like a couple books behind actually now, whatever, because I just kind of sit down and go through them, and I was sitting there writing up some stuff on what I wanted to talk about with this book or whatever. And if anything, it has me asking more questions than it has me explaining what the book is about. Kind of like, one of the questions that I think I'll ask is if fast food began by exploiting Black consumers, how did it become so concentrated in the Black neighborhoods? Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, excuse me. If fast food began by excluding Black consumers, how did it become so concentrated over here? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And again, it's because the culture started changing. And white people was like, no, we don't want that shit in our neighborhoods. They looked at that and they're like, no, we're cool on that. We don't want that here. That's the reason why you don't find a lot of drug stores, gun stores, or pawn shops in like really affluent neighborhoods. You're not gonna find that because they don't have that. Now, what you will find in like some of the deeper impoverished neighborhoods or whatever, you will find Mercedes Benzes, Teslas, uh, Range Rovers. You'll find them every so often parked
Hmm.
over there selling their shit or pawning it off over there because they're not gonna do that over there. When I was homeless years ago, one of the things that I discovered was that most of the people that are homeless in your town are not from where you are. So now LA might be different, I don't know, but most people that there's a lot of people that are in Omaha that are homeless, but they're not from Omaha,
Yeah.
somewhere else. They just so happen to be here. Most a lot of people that are homeless don't want to be homeless where they're from. That's the reason why they go somewhere else.
That makes sense.
If that makes any sense, they'll go somewhere else. So like being said, like I know another guy who was homeless, but he wouldn't be over here in uh Nebraska. He would go over to Council Bluffs, which is crazy because he knew everybody over there. But whatever. But it's still the same thing. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I think about that often or whatever. But again, though, and then my other question, and then it says like what to do. Study the timeline. Look at how segregation, redlining, and urban decline open the door for change, for chains, excuse me,
Hmm.
to move in while supermarket and full service restaurants moved out. So remember, man, we used to have the mom and pop shops that used to be around, and you can go in there and go get you. Matter of fact, over on the north side, we had Grumpy's Grill. Well, I don't know really I don't know if there's anything over there now, but I think it's Weber Square off of 30th,
Hmm.
right? And this is Omaha, so I don't know where everybody else is at, but it was a mom and pop shop, and it was an old white guy who used to run it. He used to make your food from scratch, and oh my god, it was amazing. He died and then left it to the kids. They eventually didn't want it. Then that was that. Um, but again, there's not really a lot of places like that
Well,
much. And if they are, they're not really promoted the same way that the major restaurants are. Go ahead.
well, it's one of those things. Look at how cities are laid out. Like Omaha's public transportation is abysmal. Like it's terrible. It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. Bellevue, it doesn't go out to Bellevue. It doesn't go out to other parts of the city. One of the biggest things when my mom was alive, she is outraged because they took the women's center. They used to be right on the main bus line, and they moved it out to 192nd and something that was way off the bus line. So a lot of women that depended on being able to take the bus out to go see their doctor couldn't do it anymore. And so redlining and all the other stuff, there's a historic element to this where let's see what this there yeah, there's a historical element to this where, and I use Omaha as the example because that's the one I'm most familiar with, most intimately familiar with. Um, the way that even the city was structured, it was kind of set up
I
to
agree.
it it was more set up to um particularly advantage one part of the city over the other, right? And so when we talk about the lack of stores and fast convenience, it's expensive being poor, and I don't think people understand how expensive. They don't understand how expensive poverty actually is.
Yeah. It is. Yes, it is. It costs to be poor.
And so,
Yeah, no, man, it's funny.
because I remember when I used to today, because there was a time where I was taking the bus everywhere because my car died, and so I take the bus to get to work and all this other stuff. And I was sitting there thinking about the amount of stuff I had to do just to take the bus to and from work. And I was working at the mall at the time,
Which one, Crossroads or West Roads?
West Roads.
Okay.
And so before I had to leave my house almost 2 or 3 hours before work Just
Where'd you live?
I was on 46 North 46th Street.
So that's so that would have been either the 2 or the 18, I
Yep.
think, or the 8.
I had to take both.
Yeah, because you have to take it, and then you have to go because it would take you to Crossroads
And you had to transfer.
unless you take and you take the number 2 to to Westroads. Unless you took the number 8, the number 8 will go from there all the way out, but it would still stop at Crossroads.
Yep.
You just stay on it, and I'm telling you,
And
I
so
know.
I had to leave my house almost 2 or 3 hours before I had to be on the clock.
That part. Yeah.
Now, fortunately, I was young. I was single. I didn't have a family. Imagine if you had to go to the grocery store and you didn't have a car to transport those groceries home. You had to carry every single bag home.
That part.
What kind of grocery store runs are you making?
During winter or when it's raining out?
And we know that it's cheaper to buy in bulk. You're not able to buy in bulk when you have no vehicle, when you have no transportation. Because you have to buy in bulk, you have to transport in bulk. And so you're going to make a 3-hour, 4-hour trip to the grocery store just to load up on paper towels? Or are you going to buy milk and eggs and all the other stuff that you need to make most of the meals that you're going to make? And so when we talk about it, I could either go to the grocery store and do all this stuff, but my kids are hungry right now. I take the bus up to McDonald's, feed them, come home, get them ready for bed, and figure out what we're going to eat the next day. Make that a fight for the next day. And that's why a lot of these fast food restaurants ended up in the hood.
Yeah. I mean, because and that's so funny how you said that, because it's walkability.
Yeah.
It's walkability. And that's literally why off of, because I stayed off of our address was 3348 Ames Avenue. So I stayed right on Ames. Or whatever. So the only grocery store around us was Phil's Foodway.
Filthy Phil's.
Filthy's. Or it's Phil's Foodway or whatever. So like, yeah, so I would walk down there, go grab whatever I'm gonna grab, then walk back home. And you know what's so funny though, bro, is that I rarely ever went to Burger King or McDonald's, which is right there.
Right.
I rarely ever. I worked at Burger King when I was 18, I think. Like I had no. I mean, I hated that. Oh my god, it was horrible. But like, yeah, no, that I live right down the street, so I would go there. I would go to Filthy's constantly, or whatever. So like, yeah, Filthy's is still around. It's called something else now, but yeah.
But here's the thing, though, because I'm sitting there thinking,
only thing around though.
Here's the thing. I was sitting there thinking about it though, bro, because it's like, yeah, I'm sitting there thinking about all the times we went to Burger King, McDonald's. It was a big deal to go to Burger King, McDonald's, because that was considered a treat.
But when I was a kid, it was
a treat.
As I was growing up, it really wasn't. I mean, but I still never went there though.
To be able to, because
man, now that I think about it, that's crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm sitting there thinking about it. To be able to order a pizza was a treat. That was a big deal. To be able to go to Burger King, McDonald's, it was a treat. And if we were doing the combo of ordering a pizza and going to Blockbuster, it might be my birthday. You see what I'm saying? And so a lot of these fast conveniences in other parts of town are absolute treats. Like, here's the thing, and me and my wife joke about this all the time. When I first met her, this is early 2000s, I ain't never heard nor seen or been to Buffalo Wild Wings. So when she suggested it, I'm like, where is that? And then I go out there and I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, this is a nice spot. Now, hindsight being 2020, it's just Buffalo Wild Wings.
That part.
But I had never been out. Like, my journeys out west were either to the mall to go to work. That's about it. I ain't really never been out to go sit down at a restaurant like Buffalo Wild Wings. I thought it was a regular restaurant. I thought it was a restaurant, not just a fast food chain.
Okay.
And she laughs at me to this day, but I'm like, girl, you bougie compared to compared to you were, in my mind, you were bougie because You knew about this thing, this Buffalo Wild Wings. Like this was, I was in the hood. I ain't never heard no Buffalo Wild Wings early in the early 2000s. You
Yeah,
exposed me
I
to
don't think
that.
I had. Yeah, I don't think I had either. I don't
You
think
ex-
I've been there either.
you exposed me to that, and I'm like, oh, so this is like it was Buffalo Wild Wings. Her places were Buffalo Wild Wings, Ruby Tuesdays.
Oh yeah, that was a shit.
But I didn't know these places existed. But since
Rubies, ooh, rubies.
she worked over in
Ugh.
Regency, she worked over in Regency when I met her, and so
All right, that's over by West Rose, right?
it was over in Regency, One Pacific Place.
Yeah, over
No,
by
not One
West
Pacific.
Rose.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it was over in that little, where right now where Trader Joe's and stuff is.
Hmm.
For when she first took me out, because she took me out when she first took me out there. We both black. She took me out there, and I'm sitting there like I'm dating the most bougie girl I've ever met because I ain't never been to Ruby Tuesdays at the time. I thought it was high end because I ain't never been there. This is my early 20s.
Jesus.
I ain't never been out in West Omaha like that. And so for me as a kid that grew up where Burger King was a treat, McDonald's was a treat, my mom didn't get money. Like my mom really didn't start making more money than she knew what to deal with until I was already moved out the house. And then my kids got spoiled in reverse. Right. And I kind of got spoiled by proxy because she knew, and she was trying to make up for a lot of the stuff that I didn't have. I mean, my mom, I was spoiled, but I was also the only child. If there was two of us, we'd have been fighting over toys and stuff. My mom she splurged where she could and stuff like that. I'm saying all that to say this. For me, those mid-tier chain restaurants were a big deal. Because I thought they was bougie, bro. I thought that was high. I thought we was living high on the hog when we first started dating because of that, bro.
Right.
And so for me, my frame of reference was Burger King, McDonald's. If you could afford Wendy's, you went to Wendy's. You could afford to be out at Wendy's because Wendy's had the dollar menu. And so in college, Wendy's was clutch because I can go and eat for $3.
Mm-hmm.
So the fast food restaurants were kind of seen as a treat. And then as I got older, they got seen as the necessity. But then when I start going to the higher end, mid-tier, still fast food chains, I'm like, wow, this is really nice. I ain't never been here. Meanwhile, my wife's like, this is just Buffalo Wild Wings, bro. What are you tripping off of? Right. This is just Ruby Tuesdays. So a lot of it does have to do with where you live and how you came up.
Yeah. So did you ever go to Old Country Buffet?
Yeah, we went to Old Country Buffet.
Oh my God, I used to love that place.
And I thought that that was like birthday, like, man, we going to Old Country Buffet. And now you tell your friends about it, get everybody hyped up. But then one of my aunties came in town and she's from Baltimore. She was one of my grandma's real close friends. And so we called her aunt. She came into town to visit, and she was a millionaire. Like she was the first millionaire in my family that I actually knew about. In my, kind of how black folks have play family, extended family. She was the first millionaire that I knew about. She also was a black person who came up during the Depression. So do you know what that means?
Yes, I do.
When you have a millionaire who came up during the Depression. So we take her out to Old Country Buffet. She got Ziploc bags in her purse. She trying to take everything that's not nailed down.
Yeah.
In there. Because she's like, she took the garnish, because there's a little plate with garnish on it. Like this little lettuce. She's like, you can boil this, it's really good. Hey. And so, but she's like, you can boil this, is really good. And so we're sitting there, my mom is mortified. She's like, oh my God. Aunt Florence acting crazy, like, because she had all this money, but she was still super what was it, what's it called, not cheap,
frugal,
parsimonious.
Okay, yeah.
That's how my mom put it. But she had all the money, but she would still live like that. And when we went out to visit her in Baltimore, her house, like she gave me a can of Coca-Cola that was at least 7 years old, and it separated. Wow. Yeah, but she had an entire basement full of them.
Oh wow!
So that's how she lived. And so I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. But yeah,
That's
I know why that the long about is that's why there's a lot of fast food in the hood because it's a convenience thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to go to the grocery store and have a full grocery store run. I think about your grocery store running, stocking your house, and me stocking our houses. I couldn't do that if I had to take the bus.
No,
Not one trip.
no. And you're walking? No,
Yeah, in the rain
no.
or in the snow with them plastic
Ooh,
bag, them cheap plastic bags that they use
ooh.
nowadays that tear.
Man,
Hell no.
you better double up.
So, all right, I know we kind of got far afield. We talked about a lot of the stuff about personal branding and stuff. Fearless, I do want off the air to kind of sit down and figure out because I feel like I want to share because I want to use the show as a platform to talk about things where they can follow us and see where we're at right now. Like I just dropped my school for learning how to record yourself. It's called the now I can't remember. It's called the Content to Cash Machine for business owners. And so I want to be able to share that kind of stuff and things like that. So possibly can do that, talk about a little bit of that at the intro next week. And then I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, to be honest with you.
I already got a topic. I'll tell you off air.
Okay. So that's all we got. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep, deuces.
Peace.